This is Johnny Bluestar. Welcome to Threshold, a global media event. Is the universe just a random dance of atoms, or is it a manifestation of a supremely intelligent architect? Can its purpose, or our purpose here on Earth, be adequately assessed? Can we commune with it, know its intentions, cooperate with its direction? Here, we define Threshold as a gateway state of awareness, allowing mankind to cross into a place of real cognition. Threshold allows us to approach questions of higher reality through the door of experience rather than mere belief. Welcome to Threshold, where we tear away the veil from commercial media, bringing our audience and participants into another realm of reality and enhanced communication. Welcome back to Threshold, and we are examining a worst-case paradigm in this program. What would happen in a situation where there is a financial or other type of calamitous crisis in terms of our real estate investments or our potential investments? We are with Sandra LaFlamme, who's eminently capable of discussing this. She's a luxury real estate expert, and she's somebody who is right now designing a sales system for people who want to really learn how to sell with integrity and maintain their spirituality. And so these types of themes have come into our program, which is appropriate because that's what our program is about. Sandra, getting back to our theme here, if there is an impending financial crisis, and some people do think that, many people would be advised to prepare for it financially. Many of these people think correctly that they will need some kind of a loan or mortgage to move forward in these circumstances of preparation. How would people with mortgages who already have mortgages fare in such circumstances? What can they do? What can people preparing for it do? What can people who have mortgages already prepare for it in case something really bad happens?
I hear two questions. If they don't have a mortgage and there's a currency collapse, where they're coming from, where they're going to, they can work with a top-notch real estate advisor or wealth advisor, but we're actively and have been actively involved in helping people with owner financing. It's a basic fundamental part of being a realtor. In any market, there's always a collapsing quadrant in every market in the United States that we track foreclosures and short sales. It just came to a head in a recent real estate crisis. So that skill set for somebody who's very top-notch, they can negotiate owner financing. And somebody that already has a mortgage, they very well could be upside down, and they very well will have to look at the cold hard fact of taking a loss. They can recoup from their losses because with going to a thriving economy or a thriving area, you can what we say is buying up in a down market, or you can take advantage of recouping and regrouping. And if you are actively engaged in an enterprise that accentuates your skills and ability and your training, then you can expect that you will continue to either be paid handsomely or have an enterprise that's profitable to the community that you're going. You can expect to see a profit in 5 to 7 years. But that investment of your time, wills, and emotion to what you're doing will overcome. Like I heard the singer of one of our first songs where, that forgiveness, overcoming mistakes is an essential part of any business understanding. It's not if you're going to get knocked down or if you trip. It's getting right back up and keep moving forward with an understanding of what just didn't work and what can work. You don't want to be highly leveraged in your real estate. You don't want to have a belief that you can earn 20% on something, because that's Bernie Madoff's in jail for that. Over-promising, I see all over the internet. Overpromising is all over the internet, and anybody who really researches it, they're going to see that if they're working with a top-notch professional or top-notch data, it's not going to overpromise. I see ads, invest and get 20% a year. That's ridiculous for real estate or anything on a consistent basis. The ability to discern and understand that you're not in a thriving economy is also going to help you when you do a Google search on crisis real estate investing. I see one ad here for a town in Madrid where it's only 1/8 populated, so the mayor is discount selling the property. Well, there's a reason why it's only 1/8 populated and everyone has left that town. We are not an island unto ourselves. It is where will you thrive in relationship to the people that you're engaged with in your occupation. It requires being integrated. It requires being fluid with the area and understanding of what it takes to live there, but not by yourself, with others, and not being dependent on that area. What are you offering? What are you bringing? And that includes if you have to recoup and overcome because your home you were upside down. Work with the very next buyer, take a loss, recoup and regenerate. And
don't you think that taking a loss is sometimes one of the most important things to understand, that there is a time to take a loss?
Always.
In any business or any investment.
Always.
Yeah, it's an incredibly important concept, which unfortunately a lot of people don't realize. So they go on like I have. I don't know about other people you may know, but I have definitely taken the idea of persistence to the absolute worst possible level, because I believed in what I was doing, and then I would do something in perpetuity. Now I look at things differently, but it was a hard lesson.
We all have had hard lessons. That's the beauty of forgiveness and moving on and overcoming and knowing that that insight and understanding that God gives us right at the exact point when we come back to, well, that was tough. He can help us regroup and get our feet running. It doesn't come in a closet though. You got to get out, you got to listen, you got to do. And a lot of that practice comes from how we're exposing ourselves to be involved with others in that enterprise. And others can reflect back to us like, that's not working.
And sometimes the other people that you're involved with are the reason that things are not working, right? I mean, sometimes you have to like everything we're talking about, you have to face the potential of a crisis, what the state of the economy actually is, what a house might actually be worth, and who the people you are, what are they really like? Because sometimes they disclose themselves, and just like you don't want to admit that your business is failing, you're not willing to admit that your relationship as a partner is failing.
Absolutely. Some of our families prepare us for our enemies. I grew up in an environment where it came to a certain point in time where 99% of all the good and awesome and powerful things that were really working in my life, it came to a point in time where because I have a world vision, because I have a different vision, it was not meant for me to stay in Mount Pleasant, Iowa, or Iowa to execute on that world vision. I had to get out and work on it and not be around my family because I was irritating my mom and dad and that business environment and vice versa. It was more also about taking that heads up, like, this is great to come back to during college, but this is not my forever place. This is not the perfect scenario for a working team. It's not about not getting along with my family. I wasn't offering what they needed because what I had inside of me was supposed to get out and get somewhere else. That is knowing that you're not the right person for that scenario. Get out of there. And vice versa. There are people sometimes in your environment that it is not the right team dynamic. There are buyers and sellers that when they meet me, I am not going to be the right dynamic for them as somebody who's going to help in that transaction. That it's always learning for me to be more capable of working with a wider group, and it's not personality driven. It is goal driven. There are some people that, if they have criminal intent, are not going to want to work around me. Now, that being said, I have to be satisfied that I have to keep putting myself in a position where I'm going to be successful with the integrity in which I'm walking. I got to keep moving. I got to keep working. I still am actively involved with watching world economies, watching what's being said on the internet, and I'm really disappointed that anybody would buy into I can get 20% a year. You don't also want to buy into somebody else's problem. It's not a good scenario to look at, let me go buy these bank foreclosures or these short sales. Look at the real environment of what the turnover gives you an opportunity. There's always going to be a niche, and if you know what you're looking for in that particular area and know what's right, and you have top-notch people giving you good data and helping you translate what those algorithms of data really mean, then by algorithm, I'm saying you're watching for what are the common denominators to help to watch for appreciation, or what are the common denominators to watch where something is not going to hold value. What is the traffic pattern of that area? What is the building what things are being built in the area? What is the infrastructure of the green space, providing areas for, is this just going to be one big block of buildings blocking the sunlight, and we don't have any real opportunity for humans to thrive and survive? And what's going to grow in an area like that? And that kind of gets back to our farm roots when we're talking about land. Knowing the soil, knowing the area, knowing the weather pattern also is going to affect a lot of environments. If it's a weather pattern that's now going to be very dry and the infrastructures that are built around you are mostly frame, then frame wood-built structures catch fire very easily. If it's a block-constructed home or a block-constructed commercial property that you're looking at, then you know if it's built with deep foundations or pylons or footings based on what the area demands. There are some areas in Florida that have sinkholes. When there's severe droughts and there's now no water underneath that very shallow rock foundation, then it causes collapse.
We're going to have to go to another break, Sandra. But speaking about people who have disappointed in life, I'm going to play another song by UK artist, singer-songwriter Stephanie Slinton. It's called Look What You Have Done. It was inspired by the great blues singer Robert Johnson.
Look what you have done to this little child of mine. Look what you have done, for your darkness has gone blind. You broke and starved her body, and I freed you from your sin. But look what you've done to this child of mine, 'cause you let the darkness in. You cannot be saved, for I gave you a last chance, but you chose the path to darkness, and you did the devil's dance. Oh, look what you have done to this little child of mine. Look what you have done, for your darkness has gone blind. Forever in her sorrow, her happiness assured. Little broken girl, and nobody wants to know. And I did always love her since the age of birth, but she could not feel my love, for she felt she had no worth. Oh, look what you have done to this little child of mine. Look what you have done, for your darkness has gone blind. And you can see her torment as she cries out in the rain. And I can feel her pain as she always calls my name.
It is the 15th century. El Tesoro de Cielo, a Spanish treasure ship, sends a scouting expedition to a strange island. Golden statues surrounding them prove the enormity of their find. Suddenly, hordes of ghoulish creatures with scaly green flesh and skeletal wings descend upon them from the sky.
What do you think of this, Rufio?
These creatures are fragile, Captain. We can take them with our swords.
They seem supernatural. Who knows what powers they possess?
Fallen angels, weakened by their treason.
My God! Are you saying they're Nephilim, the devil's host?
I'm saying, whatever they are, we can take them. Do any of you cowards dare join me?
Up against sharp knife-like nails and hideous fangs, the men's swords rip into slimy green flesh. Though black blood pours copiously from their half-naked bodies, creatures miraculously persist. Can the crew survive this bloody, cursed battle?
Find out more by Googling The Thrice Born, a new sci-fi supernatural novel by Carlos Lopez Avery and Johnny Bluestar. Google with the words Carlos Johnny Kendall, The Thrice Born. That's Carlos Johnny Kendall, The Thrice Born.
This is Johnny Bluestar. I've worked as a lyricist with Patricia Welch for over 5 years, along with Russian composer Edgar Ahrens, a friend and colleague. Her ability as a singer is simply amazing. She brings a unique and dramatic flair to every song she sings. Over the next few months, we shall be releasing a number of these songs, part of an album called Hadley's Castle. Meanwhile, Patricia has been busy creating a super enjoyable collection of classic standards in an exciting 46-song, 3-CD collection.
Music for great entertaining introduces Cocktails, Dinner, and Dessert with Patricia Welch. 3 hours of continuous music. 46 of the all-time classic standards, spanning decades of hit songs. Going to a friend's home for dinner? Cocktails, Dinner, and Dessert with Patricia also makes the perfect hostess gift. This 3-CD compilation is the perfect background music that sets just the right mood for any dinner party.
I'm crazy for feeling so lonely. There was a boy, a very strange, enchanted boy.
To purchase this album, just go to patriciawelch.com/CD. That is patriciawelch.com/CD. You won't be disappointed. Back with Sandra LaFlamme, and we're discussing crisis investing in real estate. And I wanted to ask you, Sandra, obviously in terms of assets that are important in terms of survival, probably the most critical is that you have a place to stay and that that somehow you can use that place to survive. But still in all, if we are facing some kind of devaluation of the dollar or hyperinflation or some crisis like that, and if one really believes that that is possible, do you think it's wise to look at precious metals, foreign currency, special types of stocks, etc., to say the value of your financial assets?
Yes, I agree. And having a diversification, a really strong portfolio, financial portfolio, is going to look at, like, the cash that you have on hand. You mentioned that. There's only so much cash you can take out of the bank at a certain time. The gold that you can have Krugerrand or gold coin, you can invest in gold. You can also have a portfolio that watches and leverages foreign currencies, and those governments are going to have a strong effect on how strong our local currency is, or wherever you live, how strong your currency is going to depend on how your government is responding to the issues that are at its border. And that European community is really having a struggle right now because they have quite a few refugees. That how do you absorb that, and how do you make do with that? And they don't always have a plan to have them engaged in employment opportunity. And it's flooding and breaking the backs of residents in those countries. That
one of the things that you've kind of mentioned before in our first hour. But still, I'd like to repeat this a little bit and go over it. Let's say that there is a real sudden emergency. It may not be a financial emergency. It could be a climatic emergency. It could be an earthquake. Or it could be that something is about to happen, like a hurricane is impending, and you got to leave quickly. What could you do to prepare for such a contingency?
Well, first, not have your head in the sand. There are a lot of folks that I work with that are from New Jersey that had no reporting or governmental foundation for an understanding of what hit them with Hurricane Sandy. Right. Those of us in Florida who've been through quite a bit of that, and the residents in the area, Vito Suma, who is a top-notch mortgage broker there, he had bought a home up on the hill. Having been prepared and owned property in Florida, saw that I don't want to own on the waterfront. I've had my boat in my front yard more than once. I don't want to go through that again. People who own property on the Mississippi, where I grew up in Iowa, were told point blank, you got to move that property. There's a picture of me my mom has when I was 5 and my sister was 4, and it flooded so bad that at that time, years ago, they moved farms and put them on homes and put them at the top of the hill because they had been said, next time it's just going to go into pieces. We won't be here to help you. There are real things that environmentally are important to take in and be aware of the surroundings of where you live, what's going to flood, what are the weather patterns that are common. The weather patterns in the Gulf Coast of Florida have been measured by window companies for more than 50 years. The greatest weather patterns that we have are in Louisiana. And when you remove your mangrove systems, you're going to lose your natural barrier. There are many parts in Florida where they are adamant, do not cut that mangrove. And some new homeowners to the area don't realize that's your protection. That's your plan against an emergency. There are things in nature that are there for a reason. And when when you think you're going to cut that down because it's blocking the view of your home, that's short-sighted. That's putting your head in the sand, and that's not reality to living here on this earth. There are weather patterns. There's water absorption by the number of people that are living in an area that can have a big effect on the aquifer, and what are the plans to replenish it?
What about the I guess, continuing situation with sinkholes? Can you actually predict anything about that if you own land that might potentially have a sinkhole problem?
We have water and rock formation specialists. I went to school with a lot of people at Iowa State that were into understanding the geology of an area. Well, everywhere where you live, there's a geology underneath the ground. And a couple quick people to call and find out what's the geology under the ground in which you live is someone who digs wells. When you have a well digger who says, we only have to go down 50 feet to get fresh water, there's a good chance that you don't have a strong threshold or rock foundation underneath your home that is going to stay stable in a drought. So, as an example, the water and rock specialists in Sarasota County can show maps of Florida, and these guys are everywhere. They can show you a map of the rocks beneath you. If you don't have a rock that's stable, with or without water, as an example, there are parts in Florida where there's building going on now over unstable rock formation. In other words, like if it's void of moisture or it gets too much moisture, it becomes unstable, starts cracking, and starts folding. That's right where you have sinkholes. Anywhere in the world, it will be those factors. And the water quality is going to suffer in an area that doesn't have strong rock foundation. So your water experts in the area, people who you buy reverse osmosis from or water systems, talk to more than one so you can get facts that start making sense. You can test the water. You can talk to and research into the county records that should be online anywhere you are in the United States of known areas that have been problems that are part of the county comprehensive plan to deal with those problems. And sometimes builders get permits to build in areas because it's easy to build. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's on land that it's good for you to live there. And
that's good to know, I guess, I would say.
Yeah. Folks who buy homes near airports find that out real fast where the landing pattern is, but that's usually since World War II, after the United States, many airports were put in place. Those sound areas and the quality of that land and the quality of the ground beneath it has been well known because that was part of the airport development.
Thank you, Sandra. In our next, after the break, we're going to ask you some questions that I'm sure that you deeply understand, which is what happens if people want to go somewhere where they can grow their own food. Right now, though, we're going to take our break, enter our break with a sample of the music of Edgar Ahrens, a little taste of something called Different Worlds.
The following is from West Side Warrior, the memoir of Ray Boylan, a Korean War veteran and crime fighter. He was there fighting in the world's coldest battlefield when the Chinese communists invaded.
Desperate squad members ran past our foxhole yelling, "Get the hell out of here, there's too many of them!" Again, we saw the Chinese soldiers charging in with opium-induced mindlessness, oblivious of our bullets. Again, we heard the bugles and whistles. Climbing out of our foxhole, Bob dropped 2 hand grenades behind us, and I threw one over my shoulder. Bullets whizzing by our heads, Bob and I became bolts of lightning flashing across the mountainside. Like a hideous film, desperate scenes like this played out on the Tokong Pass for 3 days. Sometimes I played in the scene. Sometimes I could only watch and wonder if it were real, or if I'd be suddenly jolted out of my trance by an RKO usher saying, "Hey, did you kids sneak in here?"
To acquire this book, Google westsidewarrior.boylan.kindle. Boylan is spelled Boylan. That's Westside Warrior, Boylan, Kindle.
Nowadays, if you are a serious business person, just getting assistance from someone with a license and a bit of experience may not be sufficient. In fact, your realtor actually needs to be knowledgeable enough to be one of your top advisors. Whether you are facilitating a giant merger or selling your company, there's a lot at stake besides your finances. There is the future value of your current investment, financial freedom, integrity, and overall reputation. If you need this kind of assistance, Sandra LaFlamme is a real estate expert with the experience, reputation, and knowledge qualified to assist you in all your key transactions. Sandra LaFlamme, real estate services with integrity and conscience. Contact her today at 888-366-8070. That's Sandra LaFlamme at 888-366-8070. And we're back with Sandra LaFlamme herself. And we thank you again for your support of our program. And now we have got an interesting question. You know, for myself, I envision certain people wanting to actually create somewhere a survival station. And these people may not be all that sophisticated about what that would take, because we're talking about a place where they would build things, they would grow their own food, they take care of animals, they might have to even make their own clothes, who knows, like a complete survival station. Anyway, if they wanted to grow their own food, including agriculture and animals, what kind of steps would they need to take? And how much preparation would they need to have?
Step number one is take 4 solo cups that are clean and never been used, and take a sample of its dirt from the 4 corners of your property. Step number 2, take those clean, dry cups that are full of those 4 corners dirt samples to your local extension office. Every county in the United States has a county extension office. They're employed and engaged and trained by not just the local universities, the local county, but they have an understanding of how your soil is affected and what's going on with the current weather pattern. Our local extension service, it costs $5 to have your soil tested.
Really?
Engaging in the, $5. You can go on the internet and pay a lot more, and they can test even more thoroughly for presence of things that could have poisoned your land, for if there happens to be any metals or gas. But the first step is to not feel like you have to have big bucks. Grab a clean, dry solo cup and fill it with that dirt. Take it to your extension office. Then they will give you a parameter of when the test will come back. They will also offer a whole host of things that could be meaningful to you, or give you names and telephone numbers of people like myself in the area that, as soon as I got to Sarasota, Florida, wherever I worked with a community garden, I just brought in those cups full of dirt. And I know out in the county, and this happened in Kentucky where I live, there are larger land where animals can cross that are not cows or horses on your land. It's important to test that soil in case there happens to be diseased animals in the area, and you want to test what that disease has brought in. So there is a community garden and a garden that I set up at a friend of mine's house, where in January the circus was in town, and those animals were disease-free, and we were able to bring in. And that's the other thing. Find out local opportunities, not from the dump, where diseased animals and diseased grass clippings get all mixed in together. You want to know what you're working with. And if it's a healthy piece of land and healthy animals, manure that you're working with, then you're going to have success for fertilizer.
What about the concern about growing plants completely organically? Are there extra steps that you have to take besides what you've mentioned?
Well, that's easy, because in certain areas, you first want to get heirloom seeds and not seeds from normal sources and kiosks in the grocery store or the hardware chains, because those are genetically modified seeds. And you don't want to work with a genetically modified seed because it can't duplicate itself based on the next 2 years of weather pattern changes. It's already modified and very well could have some sort of something to battle a current pest that actually could poison your own system, because whatever's going to kill that bug is also going to radically affect your health. So if it's an heirloom seed or a seed you've cultivated, or a neighbor who lives within 5 miles, because weather patterns are going to change between 5 and 15 miles away, you know that seed, if it's cultivated and come back each year and it has adjusted to the local pests and adjusted to the sunshine and the rain, then that's going to be also good for you because you're living in that same environment.
You know, before we talked a little bit different laws that govern the sale or purchase of properties in different states or principalities, but also in other countries. How important is it to use real estate lawyers and other types of real estate companies like mortgage or escrow companies in deal making? And what would be some of the special ways of using them if you're thinking about an actual crisis situation?
Obey the law, always obey the law. And your top-notch team that you involved is going to be a group that does that and always gives you the parameters of what the local laws are, state laws and government laws. And you will want to always work with somebody who's, if it's an attorney review state, an attorney and title agent who can advise you based on starting out that process completely aware of what needs to take place for price, time, and consideration, the three elements that you need to have in your contract. Iowa is complete attorney review. You can't do anything without an attorney there. In Florida, the attorneys provide a contract up front. So top-notch realtors are already going to be aware of how to fill in the blanks. But title, everywhere, needs to have an attorney reviewing all of the documents. There are title companies that have attorney review and have years and years and years of great customer service. But just working with something you pulled off the internet and thinking you can take that to courthouse and record it, there are statutes in each state that if something was done by omission or commission, in other words, you're just trying to do it on your own, then that contract is not going to have ultimately a clear title, because the buyer and seller can come back at each other after the effect and still have opportunity to really have problems, and it could end up into costly court battles.
You know, listening to some of the advice you've been giving, I noticed that you use the word team quite a bit. I think you feel a team on your side as an investor or a business person is extremely important.
I am living it because the team of people who are helping make this broadcast work, there's a fair number of people making sure the audio is working, and no one sees them. And a lot of people on a team aren't necessarily people that you see, but they are coming to a forefront, like having a good surgeon. He has always a good team of people behind him, even if you're not currently aware of who that person was with the anesthesia. They're doing a great job because you woke up and walk out of there. And with specialties where we are staying in our lane, I'm staying in my lane by never giving legal advice. I will not practice law without a license. I'm not getting a license. I'm not going to law school. I listen to lawyers and they advise me all the time. I'm fortunate to live in a state where it comes with my association fees, and I'm on that 800 line on a constant basis, because if a question is asked of me, I don't want to cause a lawsuit by moving in a negotiation in a direction that could become wrong really fast. And being educated with my local urban economics, local taxes, and local environment helped me stay within the parameters in which I'm practicing and have efficiency. But I trust and build rapport with the top-notch people who are involved with escrow, closing, and inspections. It's a very real thing right now to have great inspectors up front so that you can inspect the property. And so a title agent is going to inspect everything that has to do with the taxes, the local laws, the local permits. Are there open permits? Did somebody work on that home and not get paid? And there's a mechanics lien. That person has to be paid. And that piece of real estate in the United States is not closed without that mechanics lien being released. If you're involved in a transaction and the seller is not able to deal with that, sometimes it depends. Are you buying it at a good enough price where that needs to be taken care of? Would you have entered into that transaction willingly? A great title agent right off the bat is going to start examining that. So a team is going to start examining these things in the first 10 days of the transaction. And that gives the title agent time to really research what's going on. It gives the inspector time to really research the 5 points that matter: your foundation, your roof, your electrical, your plumbing, and your air conditioning. What are the standards in that area? Do all the windows have to be without crack? The standard in the state of Florida is every window has to be functional. It cannot have cracks in it. So if you don't know the standard in the area in which you're living and what the standard for that home is, being advised up front what the standard is, and then having inspectors that are capable of inspecting for that standard. There's a lot of things that happen in between the wall. What if the ductwork is not connected? What if the plumbing is rusted out? What if the septic tank hasn't been replaced? What if there's a problem with the sewer to the house? What are the things that inspector has up front? Not just he has great reviews, but is he great at helping keeping everything together? In other words, he can't be there to fix it, but he can identify it. And if you have a great team, then whether it's your realtor or lawyer or title agent, depending on what they've found, they know how to offer solutions. They're not calling you with problems. They're talking about the solutions because they've spent that time with you at the very beginning, educating you to the process and the procedures of what's involved. And like the quick sale, the 3 to 7 day sale, that means if you're working with a great team, they can have inspectors and everyone within 24 hours on that property, into the records, surrounding every element of what's going on with this transaction with knowledge and disclosure. Disclose, disclose, disclose.
Well, Sandra, we're coming to another break, but I want to thank you very much for being with us today. And we'll after the break, we'll try and find out how people who are listening could connect with you if they need your services. Right now, we're going to play a little plug for my friend Edgar Ahrens, who is, I consider him to be a great composer and a wonderful friend. I've worked with Russian composer Edgar Ahrens for quite a few years, building an inventory of songs, many of which feature singer-performer Patricia Welch. We will soon be releasing these songs, components of an album and a musical in progress called Hadley's Castle. When Edgar and I first got together, I was amazed by the brilliance of his musical scores created for movies, TVs, and animations. Here is a sample of the work he did on the Russian TV series, available now on Amazon, called The Secret Agent's Memoir, which had 2 seasons. This score is called Escape and was created for the first season. I am very pleased to say that Bridge of Light Productions, a division of New Galaxy Enterprises, is proud to be the contact point for television and film companies seeking information about this amazing composer's work. If you are in the entertainment business and wish to know more, contact me at johnnybluestar@gmail.com. That's johnnybluestar@gmail.com. New Galaxy Enterprises is a media company specializing in wide-ranging content like novels, nonfiction books, screenplays, commercial advertising, web content, etc. One of our most esteemed providers is illustrator Robert W. Zalo. I work on all my most important projects like book covers, logos, web design elements with Robert. As an illustrator, he worked on the Ignatz-nominated comic book, The Expert's Guide to Killing Things That Go Bump in the Night. His skills encompass advertising, magazine illustrations, gaming, comic books, TV production, and scenic painting. His clients include Comcast, Adelphia, Haven Talent, ForceWorks, High Octane Theater, Star Creative Advertising. If you wish to contact Robert, go to johnnybluestar.com and let me know. That's johnnybluestar.com. for artist, illustrator Robert Zalo, an essential component of all the work we do. Maybe he can help you too.
Boots in Manhattan is a coming-of-age novel by Ray Boylan and Johnny Bluestar. It is about a young Tom Boots Raymond who grows up in New York in the 1940s who is a member of a street gang.
My friends and I were about to start our own game of stickball when Rabbit Lacey, the head of the Rattlers, came up to us and tried to move in on our game. We were called Dwarves, the youngest members of the stupid gang.
Hey, Kevin, I need you to get some gloves and some stuff I left at my place.
No, this is our game.
Hey, are you my good little dwarf or what?
You've been calling me a dwarf since I was 6. We're not your personal slaves, pal.
Hey, what is this? A dwarf rebellion? All right, big guy. We ditched the dwarf thing. We make you guys regular rattlers.
No, it's too late.
He looked at Jay and me. We looked away. Rabbit was now angry, and he pushed Kevin hard with the palms of his hand. Kevin tried to ram him in the stomach, but he stepped aside, throwing Kevin into the curb where he fell to the ground, bleeding profusely at the knee. Still, he managed to get up.
My street.
Kevin shouted at Rabbit, pointing at him with an angry index finger.
Find out more by Googling Boots in Manhattan, a 1940s coming-of-age novel, part 1 of the novel series The Foot Soldier by Ray Boylan and Johnny Bluestar. Google with the words Boots in Manhattan, Ray Johnny Kindle. That's Boots in Manhattan, Ray Johnny Kindle.
Hi, we're back with Sandra LaFlamme, and I'd like to ask you, Sandra, if you wouldn't mind giving us a little bit of your contact information and maybe a little bit about your blogs and the book that's coming out.
I am in Sarasota, Florida, SandraLaFlamme.com. White Hat Sales will be coming out soon. We are doing the final edits on that, and I've started to have the blog appear on my website and have gotten quite a bit of positive response and feedback from the folks who follow me on LinkedIn and Facebook. So I am on LinkedIn, and because of, LinkedIn sees me as Sandra Voss LaFlamme because I've only been married about 3 years. And the nice thing about White Hat marketing is as your life grows, people will follow you and you'll have rapport and referrals and a big business base. And it just so happens that wherever I've been, clients have been a part of my life, including folks got invited to my wedding. So they didn't lose track of me. And in White Hat Sales, your folks won't lose track of you. You'll develop ways to communicate and stay in touch with people and use your ability and acumen to grow profitability. The two go hand in hand. It is the foundation of living here on this earth, living long and prospering.
Well, I think that's perfect. And I just want to spell your name if people want to look you up, Sandra. It's Sandra. And LaFlamme is capital L-A, capital F-L-A-M-M-E. That's capital L-A, capital F-L-A-M-M-E. And I hope that you'll return sometime. We have scarcely scratched the surface of what you know about real estate, but we thank you for sharing what we could get. Now we're going to say goodbye and fade out with a really interesting song by two great songwriters, Dave Nathan and his associate and wife, Bonnie Blazek, and it's called Change.
That in the midst of death, life persists. In the midst of untruth, truth persists. In the midst of darkness, light persists.
We won't change our minds. Change our ways.
Genuine peace, the kind of peace that makes life on earth worth living, is the kind that enables men and nations to grow and to hope, change, and build a better life for their children. We'll make change. Peace for all men and women, peace in all time. Change, we'll have